Because people think the original's simple, but the original movie is actually a very complex movie. The difference between that and the stuff that follows it is that it worked on layers because there were better writers than the Wachowskis that actually wrote the movie, and then they took the rest of the films forward. It worked on layers to where there was a simple version of the movie that everybody could enjoy, and then there was like multiple levels of enjoyment the deeper you personally could go into the writing. So now they're trying to, in their own words, subvert an already complicated thing that I don't even think they understand.
Yeah, it's like they substituted depth, like what you're talking about, like where it's like it's deep and it has these layers of meaning and you can sort of pick through it and different people can have different interpretations and all stuff.
Yeah.
That's all awesome. That's what was awesome about the original. They substituted, instead of that, it's just complexity. We're just going to add all these characters with these really bizarre motivations and interconnected like relationships that we don't really fully explain, and it's just like confusing. Like, what the hell is going on here? Who are all these people? I don't understand.
Yeah, like the original, I would compare it to like the wave pool at a water park, right? Like it gets deeper and deeper. So like even the kids can stand in the front section of the wave pool and really enjoy what's going on. But like if you're a really good swimmer, you can just kind of go out there and get the best out of it.
Yeah, that's not the case here. It's
yeah.
And you know, it's funny because like they put in some fan service, which is like usually okay, but it's more, it just, you know what, it's The Last Jedi all over again, right? It was The Last Jedi. Was that episode 7?
No, you're not. You're thinking of Force Awakens.
Which one was episode? Force Awakens. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's Force Awakens all over again. It's basically, we're going to do the same story, just with slightly different characters.
It's like, it wasn't terribly bad, but it wasn't like good either. It was just kind of there and mostly playing off of your nostalgia.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's just like,
That's what I figured.
There's very little or almost nothing that I would say is bad about it. You know, there was one cringy line so far that was just like, you know, but other than that one immersion breaking moment, it's just been like, oh, okay. So they're just redoing the original Matrix. Only with seemingly no stakes and really confusing plot lines. But,
you know what the stakes are going to be? It's going to be because, again, they didn't write the original movie. They just directed it. And then came up with everything that came out afterwards. They've probably been reading too much internet theories, and then it's just going to turn out that they were inside a Matrix, inside the Matrix the entire time.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. They haven't gotten to that point yet.
Ooh, the internet wrote a better story for us. Let's go with that.
Yeah, really. What was I? You know, and I've read articles about how they're like, we're going to retake the whole red pill, blue pill thing. And I'm like, watching now, I'm like, well, they haven't done that yet. I don't know what they're talking about because they pretty much just reintroduced the whole red pill, blue pill thing.
Yeah.
There's nothing different. So I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
I mean, to be fair, they never lost it in the first place. They're just crazy.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, people are still referring to the Matrix when they even use that reference. And I think the weird thing is people associate the whole red pill thing with the political right? That's even what the articles say. But that's not even what it means. It's just so, right at the moment, the people who are kind of like awake to facts happen to mostly be on the political right. There's a lot of people on the political left that have taken the red pill too. And it is literally like thought for thought, meme for meme, exactly what it means in the Matrix. The people who haven't taken the red pill are just kind of asleep, maybe to propaganda. Mm-hmm. They're just listening to whatever the news or whatever tell them. And the people who have taken the red pill are like, oh my God, you guys are fucking lying to us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's people who've woken up to the fact that the narrative, the accepted narrative is false. It's just that the accepted narrative right now tends to be most, on the left. But
yeah, but like, to be fair, like I know people who are even like almost on the extreme left that are just kind of like, they have their deluded plans of how they want the world to be, but they still understand that like everything on the fucking news is bullshit.
Yeah. I watch a lot of Sky Adams lately, and he's just basically like, yeah, all the news is fake. It's just all fake.
Bullshit. That's all it is.
Yeah. And he's on the left, so.
But like, I remember that meme kind of coming from like 4chan, and people have their thoughts about 4chan, but if you actually go on there, the political stances on there are like literally all over the map.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they're disconnected. That's all it is. They're just disconnected from reality. They've taken the blue pill in their own fucking movie.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've been sort of live tweeting it as I've been watching it, but been taking breaks. Took a break to go to the doctor. Took a break for this, and I'll finish it later tonight.
Take a break for your sanity.
Yeah, it's definitely not, because some movies I get sucked into and I'm just like glued to the screen and I want to watch till the end. This one is more like, oh, there's a funny thing. I think I'll take a picture of it and tweet it, and I think I'll take a break. Like, I don't know, I'll watch the rest later. Like, it's just there. Just like, it's a movie. It's a movie. I'll give it that. Sort of.
I'm sure the production quality is at least really good. I mean,
the special effects are fantastic.
You just want a theme park ride, which is what most movies are these days, is probably great for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll talk about something that I got sucked into in a moment. But before that, welcome to the Vomitorium, episode 112, I believe. I don't know. We're pushed off like a day after we were supposed to run it due to scheduling conflicts. But we're here. And as always, I am your host, The Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer. How you doing today?
Great.
That's excellent.
I pretty much already just told you my whole day, so.
Yeah.
Between work, I've just been watching a bit of Matrix Resurrections.
I guess that's what it's called. All of their names have to start with an R.
Apparently.
Reloaded, Revelation, Resurrections, it's all got to be R's.
Mm-hmm. It's a movie that showed up on my television.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. That's my review.
No, I know my dad wants to actually go see it in the theaters. And I might, I don't know, I'm kind of like hesitant to watch anything he wants to watch in the theaters after he took me to see The Last Jedi. I'm almost kind of burnt from that, but it's one of those things. It's like, I probably won't enjoy this movie if I watch it in any other way than on the big screen.
Yeah, I'd imagine it would be fantastic on the big screen. As far as the visual effects, it's pretty stunning. It's pretty good.
But you know what's good on the small screen or the big screen or whatever screen you watch it on?
What?
Last week, after it dropped, I binged the entire second season of The Witcher.
Oh, I haven't watched that yet.
Yeah. Just like I did the first time. And I thought it was good. I thought it was not quite as good as the first season. Probably better for people who are confused by the first season, since it happens linearly from the beginning all the way through. It's completely just in chronological order for that season. Maybe people who aren't familiar with the source material, like the books, or even like they borrow a lot from the games because they've been deviating a little bit from the books even in season 1 for The Witcher. It might be better if you're not as familiar with the source material. I still thought it was pretty good. There was a big change, actually, that really pissed a lot of people off, though. And it wasn't even anything that was, like, woke or what you'd expect to piss people off. Because, honestly, The Witcher, it's not really all that woke at all. If anything, there's, like, minimal amounts of, like, mandatory diversity in casting. That's kind of it. But the thing that really pissed people off is they changed a major character. Actually, he's a minor character, but he's major because he's a fan favorite. It doesn't actually change the plot. It doesn't change character development or anything for the main characters. But they changed a guy named Eskel. And Eskel, in the books and even in the games, mirrors Geralt. He also has a child surprise of his own. He's like a beacon of righteousness in a way, and he is like a brother in arms to him. Mm-hmm. But in the story, without spoiling it because you haven't watched it, they basically flipped all of that on his head and made him somewhat of a lecherous fool who brings trouble into their domain. And like I said, it doesn't affect the character development of the people who matter whatsoever, but he's such a beloved character from the fans that it's like, of all characters you could change, why did you pick this one? Why? Do you not have your ear to the ground of what the fans actually like?
And what did they change about him?
They basically made him a completely different character. He's nothing like the way he is in the books or the game.
Okay. Well, since I've never read the books nor played the games, I probably won't even notice.
You probably won't, because you don't expect anything. It's just there's a huge outrage over it. It's like, no, they did our boy Eskel dirty.
Oh,
yeah. But
that's one thing else.
It's pretty good.
I did want to say, I don't know if I made this clear, but I don't think there was anything particularly woke about Matrix 4 either.
Yeah, probably not. I mean,
really wasn't.
Yeah.
Like I said, there was one cringy line, but that's about it. So.
Now, I am half expecting this other thing that happened at the end of Witcher to be woke. And that's because Cavill's not a part of it. So at the very end of The Witcher, if you watch past the credits, they actually give you an end credit scene, and it's a trailer for Blood Origin, which is a prequel, like a prologue all the way back, telling you how the lines became the way they did. And man, does the cast look even more diverse than the minimal mandatory diversity that you have to have in anything now. And it's like, I don't know, man. I mean, the show's been good. Honestly, it has been, but I'm half expecting shit from this thing, especially because Henry Cavill's not involved in it. It takes place before his character even exists in the world.
Yeah, is that something they're coming out with like later next year?
Yeah, it's like a spin-off thing. I don't know how much of it's already done. Clearly enough of it's done editing that they could whip a trailer up for it. It might also be what's pushing back the next season of The Witcher, because they said that people are going to have to wait a while for season 3. And it's probably because it's the same production team, and they might be doing these back-to-back with each other. Who knows?
Oh, that reminds me. When is Cobra Kai season
31st.
4? Oh, okay.
Just in
Good, I
time for
missed
the new
it.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's actually another fun little note, though, from The Witcher is there's a part, which you would have already seen this happening because it happened in the last season. The part in the books where Triss gets scarred from the big battle, right? She gets the burn. And in the book, her hair basically gets set aflame from it, which is why her hair gets like this really deeper ember color than it used to have. So to kind of match, and I guess to please fans who were complaining about it, they actually kind of dye the actress's hair redder for the sake of this season. I thought that was pretty cool. They're kind of trying to meet the fans halfway with things.
I'm not sure that's how hair works, but okay.
Well, it's magic, so
yeah. Oh, okay.
It was magic fire. She's also like a witch herself. She's a mage, so it's all things are possible with magic.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
There was a lot of neat little things in there. They throw a lot of bones to the already established fan base.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also why the whole Eskel thing, just like, I don't understand it. Especially having like Cavill on there, who is clearly a fan. There was reports that he was basically like an encyclopedia, and he's like, "Oh no, it'd be really cool if we use this line from this page of the book," and he would just like recite it off the top of his head.
Yeah.
You'd think that he'd be connected enough to the fan base. So he's kind of a nerd himself, that he would know that this is probably a character they shouldn't cross the line on.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah. But you said he's not involved in... Or no. This was in this one.
Yeah, this is in the actual Witcher, not the Blood part. So, like, you'd think he'd have some pushback on there. For the most part, it seems they're listening to him. I think he is technically an executive producer on there, but anybody who helps bring in, like, the audience gets, like, an executive producer role.
Yeah.
Who knows? I highly recommend people watch it, though. I think I gave the first season like an 8 out of 10, which for me is a very solid score. I'd give this nigh 8 out of 10, maybe like a 7.8 or whatever. It's still really good, just not quite where the first season was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, am I gonna? Should I watch it right away, or should I do like I did last year and last season, not watch it for like 6 months?
I think you should watch it right away, but I don't know, space it out over the course of a couple months, maybe. I don't know, whatever you feel comfortable. Just an episode here or there. Don't binge it like me. I just binged it for the sake that I really want to see it, and I figured, I could give a nice little review if I watched it all at once.
I'll probably watch it over the course of a few days.
Yeah, that sounds fine. That sounds like a good pacing habit that I lack.
Yeah. Well, especially because I only have 1 day left of work, and then I'm off for like 2 weeks.
So. Oh, nice. Winter break.
Yeah, or like a week and a half, whatever. I've got all next week off. So I'll have nothing better to do.
Yeah. Now, there was a topic you wanted to talk about last time, but we didn't get around to it, and it could take a good chunk of the show, depending how deep we get into it. And you wanted to talk about the Kickstarter API that it was coming out. It's kind of that you could put it in your own site, set up your own site. There's all kinds of things you could do with it.
I don't know that there's a whole lot to say about that. But the Kickstarter, I guess, does everyone know what Kickstarter is? Do we need to explain that?
I think everybody knows, but like just the brief thing, it's a site that lets you crowdfund. It's kind of like the first site to do it before like competitors came in. And you just set up a product. It was actually supposed to be originally for basically like inventions. Right. That was the first stuff. It was like innovations that you did, and then people were using it for games, books, all kinds of different creative products. But it's weird. It was supposed to be like a Shark Tank thing, but the world was your Shark Tank.
Yeah, and when people started using it for basically like a pre-launch sale kind of thing, where you could buy a product that they're gonna make. But you get to, sort of semi be a part of the making of it.
Yeah, you're an investor.
Sort of. But yeah, I guess so, because, you
get something out of your investment. So like you are literally an investor.
And there's definitely some risk in that.
Yeah.
It's possible they may not complete the project and you may end up getting nothing, but
Well, when you make one of those pages too, they tell you that you should lay the risks out on why this may not be completed. They tell you to set up like an investment page. The whole thing is supposed to be an investment. And I think that's the problem that a lot of people have. They go into it thinking they're buying a product, like this is a pre-buy page or whatever. But you literally, this is an investment pitch. And everybody who puts it in is like, you get something out of it for investing. But that's also why like a comic or something will be more expensive going through here than it would be just buying it from a store, because you are funding the project.
Yeah. So Kickstarter made an announcement, and I'm trying to find where, do they have like a link to their blog or something like that? Maybe it's under press. That I sort of, I understand some of it. Some of it I don't quite get. So basically they are converting their backend to run on some sort of blockchain. And I don't quite understand that part of it.
Oh,
like,
either.
What does it
seems
mean?
Completely unnecessary.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure what that aspect of it means. And it doesn't necessarily mean like you don't have to do that in order to, for instance, take Bitcoin as payment.
Yeah.
Right? You could just take Bitcoin as payment.
Yeah, you just have to link up a wallet that's already on the chain. That's all you need to do.
Right. So this, I've seen some people talk about this in terms of, oh, now they're going to be able to take Bitcoin as payment. I'm like,
they always
no, that has nothing to do. They always could, and they can just as easily after this. So I don't quite understand the blockchain aspect of it.
Oh, see, you're not thinking big enough. They're going to turn your pledge into an NFT. That's what they're doing with it. Hopefully my sarcasm is coming through.
I mean, maybe they're trying to make it so that your pledges are transactions on a blockchain. Maybe. But I don't quite understand what the benefit of that is, rather than just saving them in a database like they do now.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know that. I don't quite understand that aspect. It seems to have pissed a lot of people off, which we can talk about in a minute. But the more interesting part of the announcement was that they are apparently going to be releasing an API so people can build their own Kickstarter on top of their backend, all of their blockchain backend.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Super awesome. And I watched a couple of videos on this. I watched Perch, I believe, made a couple of videos, and your boy Zach made a couple of videos. That's a couple of comic book creators on YouTube. And yeah, it's almost like, so there's going to still be a Kickstarter.com.
Obviously, yeah.
But, right, but, yeah, of course. But there's also the possibility of creating your own website where you do, I think some of the stuff that they're not crazy about doing, basically the curation and potentially gatekeeping, which they seem to do, or lack thereof, they're going to let you do on your own website, and basically just use them as a backend. Yeah. So it's kind of like using, Amazon AWS, right? Amazon Web Services. It's kind of like using them as a backend. Your website may run on AWS, but nobody knows, nobody cares. It's not exactly that, because AWS is more of a hosting tool, but this is actually a full-on backend where you don't have to worry about the database structure and all that stuff. You just build the front end and you handle your own curation and then.
Well, so when we were talking about this after the show last time, because honestly, we were at the end and we didn't really have enough time to get into anything right there. I was saying two different possibilities, the one you brought up and another one. And I think these two different possibilities would be great depending on what you as a creator or developer want to do. And we can even use like comics as an example, because I know probably want to harass your boy Pixel Trader about this. It'd be a good thing to integrate into something like IndieCron, where now people could actually use that site as a means of like kickstarting their project right there, or something like that, or a CG type thing, whatever. So you can make your like comic themed one now. Somebody can make like a game themed one. Somebody even a board game themed one, right? Where people who are looking for specific types of products can filter them easier by going to a site dedicated to kickstarting those type of products. And that would be a great thing to do it. You could even just do them community based, like, I don't know, maybe somebody just makes an entire site dedicated to non-woke shit, right? Who knows, whatever people make. But the alternative too, and I think this is equally viable depending on who you are, if you already have a huge audience and you're not worried about like searchability or anything like that, you could literally just embed the API on a per project basis to a site that already exists. Like you already have a lot of traffic to your website. You could make a page just for the product and use Kickstarter the back end. And I think these are both very equally viable possibilities depending on what you as a creator want or need out of the system.
Yeah. Yeah, you can make something as small as a single project page, like you're saying, or you can be more ambitious and see if you can get host other people's projects.
Especially like say, I don't know, your boy Zach, if he wanted to do something with listing comic projects, he has his own, but he doesn't really need he really doesn't need a Kickstarter project anymore. He's got enough capital from his products. He could just fund the next one and sell it and make profit off of it. Like literally does not need a Kickstarter anymore. But he likes spotlighting other people and stuff like that. It'd be in his interest to make something that other people who don't have an audience, or even like EVS did that, don't have an audience to draw their attention there, because it'd be harder for them to set up their own site and do something.
Yeah, but he would need to set up his own site or something. Yeah. To have a place that basically had the same framework as his Indiegogo pages. That, give you some communication with the people that are pledging to your project, and gives you the ability to, add perks and things like that, and stretch goals and all that kind of stuff. So, something like, because I know like EVS puts stuff, like overflow stuff he'll put up on eBay, but that's not a good solution for sort of the first run of a project. So
it only works for him because he's got a big enough name.
Yeah. But he still wouldn't want to put, an initial, like for Cyberfrog 3, he still wouldn't want to just put that up on eBay. That wouldn't quite work.
It depends. In his case, it can work because even Cyberfrog's already established name before he started crowdfunding it. So putting up Cyberfrog 3 is like, yes, it's the first print run, but there's already going to be a demand to where people would search for it on eBay and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like in an individual case, it works. For somebody else, not so much.
Yeah. But yeah, if you didn't have Indiegogo or Kickstarter, you'd have to set up your own storefront or something on your own website.
Which isn't hard.
No. But I think this is an interesting opportunity for an enterprising developer, potentially, to make like a new niche crowdfunding website that may be just for comic books, or just for video games, or just for people who don't trust Kickstarter or Indiegogo or something like that.
Well, like, so I think people who do that, though, whoever makes these like themed sites, these niche sites, should really make sure that all the pages are embeddable. Like when somebody sets up a page, that they have like an embed code, because if you can embed it to your own personal site too, I think that would be the best benefit for a creator. Because if you redirect to the site, well, then they can set a storefront up on that site for after the project too. You just make it like a chain, just flow straight through to the next step of the process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's something I'm definitely going to look into. They haven't released the API at all, so I don't quite know what exactly it's going to entail. But
Yeah.
it's definitely going to be something I'm going to be looking into. And a while back, a couple of years ago, I started looking into making a comic book viewer, kind of like a comicsology.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But unfortunately, I started building it for mobile with a tool that has since been discontinued. So, which was a surprise because I started building it in Titanium, which is a cross-platform mobile development platform, um, and it'd been around for at least 10 years, if not more, maybe 15. And they just out of the blue were just like, okay, so we're discontinuing this now. We're going out of business or whatever. So I'm like, God damn it. It's like halfway through building Comixology for Comicsgate, and it's like the tool is
like
going
that would be
away.
Fucking
So
great too.
yeah. So, maybe someday I'll restart that project in Xamarin or some other third-party mobile development tool.
I really like Comixology on the phone. It's absolute balls on the computer. I don't think anybody would complain about that statement. It is balls. I know Zach would talk about this shit all the time, where he's like trying to review a comic through Comixology, and it's just like stopping and is not loading in the middle of his review as he's holding his fucking webcam up to the or his phone camera up to the fucking computer. But on the phone, I've never had that problem. It's optimized for the phone very well. And I don't mind paying for a digital copy of something I can just take with me anywhere and read. Especially half the time it's cheaper. Unless it's like Marvel.
Yeah.
I don't ever buy Marvel or DC back when there was still stuff that you could find that was good from Comixology, because they would charge the same price for a digital comic as they would a physical one. Especially something that's DRM too. You can't even pirate off of Comixology because you're streaming the comic. At most, there's a cached version. There's not like a true version of the comic that you could pirate out.
Yeah, that was going to be part of the selling point specifically for CG or just indie comics creators, is that they could do a digital version, and Sketchbook brings it up. Apparently he's been working on something else, something similar. But GMT just tipped us $10. Thank you very much.
GMT, and thank you.
Thank you. That's
been a while.
Gets us to our goal for December.
Yeah, it does.
Very good. But Sketchbook brings up a good point that most indie creators or CG creators don't care for digital, and I think part of the reason, it's not the only reason, but part of the reason is because of piracy. And there's really no distribution model other than handing out PDF files, which are easy, like ridiculously easy to pirate. You just make a copy and send it to somebody else.
Yeah.
But with this model, I was thinking it would work specifically for smaller creators who are interested in digital but are concerned about pirating, because you just distribute it on this app. The downside would be you'd have to have the app either on your mobile device or on Windows or whatever.
Yeah.
But that would be the only way to view the comic. And other than taking screenshots of every screen, it would be very difficult to pirate. So.
Yeah, and if you make it cheap too, that's the thing that stops people from pirating. It's like if it's, I don't know, a floppy for $1 or $2, people are like, yeah, I'll drop $1 or $2 for a floppy. All right. That's right. Not even worth pirating. It's like, boom, here's $1 for the creator or whatever you want to do. Split it in half with the hosting service. Who knows? But it's like, yeah.
Yeah, and it would give you the option, if you put it onto this app, then you could tie it to something like Indiegogo or Kickstarter, so that when if you contribute at that level where you get the digital version, you'd get like a coupon code or something, and then you get it for free on the app. But then other people who weren't even involved in the crowdfunding could go and just buy it, and then most of that money would go to the creator as just another sale, as a digital
you can
sale.
make NFTs now. Why would you want to do an NFT? That would be horrible. Turn all the comics into NFTs.
Yeah.
That would only encourage piracy. I think actually that's the funniest thing about NFTs is like everybody's like, no, it helps fight piracy. It's like, no, all it does is encourage piracy, especially with how like bloated and saturated the NFT market is and how high of the price is. Like, this is the opposite of accessibility. There's just going to be even more piracy off of people trying to do this for everything.
Well, and that's funny. This whole blockchain thing with Kickstarter, it set off this firestorm of idiots who don't understand blockchain. And don't understand that it's completely different from NFTs, completely different from Bitcoin. There's 3 different concepts that people are mashing into one: cryptocurrency, NFTs, and blockchain. Those are 3 separate things. And the fact that Kickstarter is converting their backend to some sort of blockchain technology has nothing to do with the other 2.
Yeah, I mean,
whatsoever.
It would probably be closer to NFTs than Bitcoin if you were to just compare the technology. Because if they're doing some type of blockchain, that means they're going to start compartmentalizing everything into tokens that can be moved around the chain. So in that case, there's similarities. But I know a lot of people get confused with the whole like NFT even versus Bitcoin thing because we've explained this before, but most people don't even know the difference between a coin and a token on a chain,
Yeah. But anyway, and I wish I could find the press release. I'll have to find it later. But they specifically said that the particular blockchain technology they're using is extremely environmentally aware or whatever. And I'm sure it's no more, because that's what people are saying. Oh, it's damaging the environment. And I'm like, no, you're thinking of NFTs. You're stupid. But all it is just distributed. Yeah. So it's going to be no more damaging to the environment than the existing servers that already run Kickstarter.
Yeah,
in fact,
that's
it
the
may
funny
be
thing
less.
too. I laugh at everybody who brings the environment into like all the crypto stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's no more or less damaging than the server farms that host all of the internet. Like, what the hell do you think is going on?
Yeah, I'm like, do you realize that your tweet complaining about NFTs has a bigger carbon footprint than an NFT?
Yeah. And then the other is like, well, like, what about all the freaking graphics cards that they're mining out and then getting rid of afterwards? It's like, well, actually, most of them they sell back on the market because they're still usable and they can make money off of reselling them. Like, I don't think you understand what's going on here, random people on the internet. Stop listening to CNN.
Plus, using NFT, like minting a token, an NFT token, or even minting a Bitcoin. Well, minting a Bitcoin is a little different, but like using Bitcoin does not use any extra energy.
No,
at all. You can mint 50,000 NFTs.
Mining
it doesn't change anything.
Does use more energy,
mining uses all the energy.
Yeah, it doesn't use more energy. It uses all the energy you would have been using that for doing anything else.
Whether or not you use Bitcoin, using Bitcoin for a transaction contributes 0 to the carbon footprint or whatever.
Yeah.
It's all the mining that used to be going on in China, but apparently they've cracked down on that does that. But it's like, you're not going to stop that with your stupid petitions and your stupid complaints on Twitter.
Largest mining operations are all hooked up to hydroelectric anyway, so it's like
that's the thing is like, do you think that people it's the baby brain, as Zach would say, the baby brained thinking of like Captain Planet, where the bad guys are like, yeah, let's pollute, woo, yeah, we're going to destroy the earth. It's like Bitcoin miners don't think like that. They're thinking in terms of how can we use the least amount of energy because electricity is fucking expensive.
Yeah, and then they realize it's like, oh, wait, there's one renewable source of energy that's actually so efficient that it's cheaper than using like fossil fuels and stuff, and that's hooking ourselves up to a hydroelectric dam.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like, yeah, they tend to put mining farms in places where there's very cheap renewable energy, and as well as improving the hardware so that it uses less and less electricity over time.
Yeah.
So, and I'll tell you, as much as annoying as it is that like Bitcoin miners, or maybe I don't know who it is that's using up all these graphics cards when I would love to have a graphics card. But at the same time, they're driving innovation to have cheaper and more efficient graphics cards and stuff. So
yeah,
it's Luddites.
It's funny. You never hear anybody Luddites complaining about the mining that happens in France, which there's actually a big, or not a big, but big economy, lots of groups of miners in France. And that's because the entire French grid is hooked up to nuclear power and you don't even notice it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, less carbon footprint than every coin up to and including the dime. Yeah. Actually minting a penny actually costs money.
Yeah, because most of it's coal. They have to burn coal to actually heat up the metallurgy to be as hot as it needs to be to actually melt and then mint the coins. You're talking about carbon footprint. Yeah. Whew.
There was a shift, though. So Sketchbook was talking about mining being blamed on GPUs being expensive. There was a shift. See, Bitcoin miners typically run these FPGA boards, which are not GPUs. You can't just take that and put it in a computer and have it be a GPU. But there was some shift in maybe it's Ethereum that uses graphics cards better than Bitcoin does. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, I know a lot of people would use their GPU if they were first getting into mining because it's that's what I have that's available.
Yeah.
But if you're a large-scale mining operation, you're not going to be using them.
Yeah, you're not gonna be going on Newegg and buying all the latest NVIDIA GPUs. But I think Ethereum does use GPUs, and so I think that may be the culprit for sort of the GPU shortage. But it's not Bitcoin. Bitcoin uses FPGAs because if you try to use a GPU, you're going to just waste your time and waste your money because it's not efficient enough. FPGA boards are stripped down GPUs, but they're specifically made for mining Bitcoin.
Yeah. You could get some out of it if you're using a GPU, depending on where you are, right? If your kilowatt per hour is low enough, you could be minorly profiting compared to how much money you're using on electricity.
Maybe.
But most places it's not going to be.
I don't know.
Here in Texas, I know there's some areas where the kilowatt hour is low enough. You could be profiting off it, but it's just not worth it.
Last time I looked into it, which was a few years ago, there was no GPU existing that would give you any profit almost anywhere. Now, maybe today there is, but you had to get an FPGA, and the idea was get the most efficient thing you can get.
Yeah.
To use the least amount of electricity you can, because that's just eating into your profits. So, yeah, there you go. Sketchbook says most Ethereum farms are located in China. See, but they cracked down on that, didn't they?
So I'm legally, not sure. It's still happening because there ain't really shit they can do about it.
But I know they shut down.
Totalitarian governments are actually really, really bad at stopping black markets, historically speaking.
Yeah. I forgot to. I should have looked at the difficulty because I bet you when they started cracking down, I bet you the difficulty dropped considerably on Bitcoin.
Maybe, yeah.
Which is directly related to how many servers there are running it.
I mean, depending on what you consider is healthy, like how you want to use the term, you could either say that China has the most healthy or least healthy black market on the entire planet. That's up to personal discretion on which of those two terms you'd want to use.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, Sketchbook. They said they cracked down on it, but did they? Did they really? I want to find this, let's see, Kickstarter blockchain. It is fascinating. Here we go. The future of crowdfunding creative projects. See, I don't quite understand because they're talking about being decentralized. Okay, you can do that without blockchain. So why are they? Okay, they're using something called Cello.
Maybe
the blockchain
it's a sign of
technology
good faith. So yeah, this is my just like initial thought process on it, trying to piece together why you would even tell people you're using a blockchain, right? If you're making this API, which I'm assuming, if the API you can use is going to be using their backend and they're changing their backend over onto a blockchain, this is to let you know it's like, hey, there's a what's it called? A line of accountability here. You can actually a chain of custody where you can see that we're not fucking over your projects now that you're using our API. That's the only reason I could see actually doing something like this is just for the accountability with the chain of custody that a blockchain comes with.
Mm-hmm. Their website, the Cello website, is so full of marketing babble. It's almost hilarious. Like their philosophy is grounded in the work of Charles Eisenstein's Sacred Economics. And oh my God, they've got so many people. Holy shit. How do they have like 100 employees?
I don't know.
They list all of them. God, it's insane. I don't even know what they're doing.
We're eventually get to the point where people are going to list all their employees, but only like 5 of them are going to be actual people. But all of the AIs are going to have unique personalities, so we need to list their names too. Yeah.
Jackie's job description is sparks ideas, spurs growth.
Ooh, that's another good thing, GMT Burn. Not just the accountability, but maybe also buzzwords for investors. You know how much investors love buzzwords. Let's look at the history of E3 since 2002.
Yeah. They've got way too many advisors. Amy explores the edges of possibility. That's her job description. God, this is such a...
Edges of possibility? That's something she's hitchhiking across the galaxy or something like that.
Well, that's what her...
Can I get that job? I would like to have that job.
That's actually what her headshot looks like. She's like in a field holding a camera and like taking off her sunglasses.
She's a towel around her neck.
Is that a camera? No, I guess it's a phone, of course.
Yeah.
She doesn't have her towel. She's screwed.
You always know where your towel is. God.
Totally screwed. It really, you know, I don't doubt that it's a real company, and obviously it's got some big backers for whatever it does, but it really smacks of like .com bubble.
Yeah. Let's turn back the clock like 20 years and see what's going on.
Oh my God. Yeah, don't go on. If you're excited about Kickstarter's new vision, don't go on the Cello website. It'll blackmail you.
That's if you're old enough to
like,
remember the .com bubble burst. Like, I'm sure everybody watching right now actively, just by looking at the names in the chat, are old enough to remember. But like some of our listeners, especially some of the people I interact with these days, I don't think Zoomers have even a comprehension of the bubble burst.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it was a lot of websites like this that said a whole lot of nothing and had a ridiculous number of employees that seemingly do nothing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. remember there was
What a
this company.
time.
So when I moved to Austin in the middle of the bubble back in 2000, my wife worked for this company called Core Metrics, and oh my god, they were like hiring like crazy. They had people working or like in the office 24/7. They could like sleep there. They were working in their PJs. They had 3 meals a day, brought to them for free. They all had like big screen TV, like individual big screen TVs on every cubicle. It was insane. It was just like, what does this company even do?
It's the exact reason why older people still cringe when they hear the words tech startup.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, 6 months in, they laid off at least half, if not 75% of everyone. And like all these companies were out of business. It's crazy. The 2000 bubble burst in 2001.
Yeah.
That's when it burst. And then 9/11 didn't help.
Whatever companies. About the .com burst, not the housing market burst.
Yeah. that was another.
Which I bet their Zoomers probably don't even remember the 2008 housing market crash either.
Yeah.
I mean, they lived through it, but they were like kids, so like, what do they remember? I lived through the 90s. I only remember the fun stuff. I was a kid. Like, I don't remember all the horrible shit that happened in the 90s. Though comparatively, even going back and reading about it, it's like it still seemed like a better time than most of what followed.
What horrible things happened in the 90s? The 90s were great.
Most of it was like executives and even lobbying senators that led to the stuff that eventually hit in the 2000s and stuff. Like, nothing was really bad, but it was like, the ripple effect, the shit they're doing now. Also, which I vaguely remembered at the time, but the freaking ESRB and all like the trying to get rid of video games. That's the stuff I remember because, I played games.
Yeah, the 90s.
Video games in the 90s.
The 90s were a lot of bullshit. It was a lot of, Solyndra and Enron and all these companies.
And
mostly
like, yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Mostly like environmental companies and tech companies that were all just bullshit that ended up, we didn't find out about it until the 2000s. And it was like, so the whole Clinton boom was all just bullshit, just built on,
But like
nothing.
The Gangland Wars is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, growing up in the 90s as a kid, I only remember like things related to media and video games because I was a kid, and that's what interests me.
Yeah.
I didn't learn about the Gangland Wars until I was older and went back and reread about stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, so for those of you who are too young, the initial, basically the tech boom of the 90s that I pretty much hand to Bill Gates, or at least Microsoft for starting. Windows 95 basically kicked off this ridiculously amazing tech boom in the late 90s. That ended up, and then when the internet came about, there was this huge bubble where these companies were just springing up everywhere, and it was just like so much investment money just pouring into Austin and Silicon Valley and wherever else. And then at the end of 2000, beginning of 2001, it was just like, none of these companies are making a profit. Well, we're pulling all the money out, and just a bloodbath. It's just like all these companies just went out of business. It was ridiculous. So that's when because I graduated college in 99, ended up moving to Austin, Texas in 2000 and joining a tech consulting company, and they were hiring like crazy. And by the time, sort of at the end of 2000, they had something like 50 employees. Well, 3 months later, they were down to 25. They laid off half their entire staff. And that was like across the board. You know, there were companies with 500 employees that were just either cut in half or cut in three, you know, down to 100 or just gone. And so, you know, as a smaller consulting company, a bunch of our clients disappeared off the face of the earth. And
yeah.
so
well, that's why, like, it's funny that people still, like, I guess, cringe when they hear tech startup, because I've met quite a few these days, and by comparison, they are far more conservative in their numbers. Like, I helped one set up in downtown Dallas a few years back. They needed somebody to, like, wire their network inside the place, Ethernet and all that. And I think there was 6 people in the office building. That was the whole startup, was just 6 people. It's like, well, you know, with how much that can just be automated on the computer these days, 6 people might even be much for what they were doing. But compared to, like, I don't know, you roll back the clock, we want 100 people in our startup.
Yeah, well, I ended up moving back to Nashville in 2001 at the end of the year, and then joined a company that was well positioned to handle the dot-com bubble bursting, because all of their clients were like healthcare, which never goes down. They ended up wiring the Titan Stadium in Nashville, which was a huge contract, and like schools and things like that. You know, they had basically had all these government and healthcare contracts that were just like, yeah, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
We are unaffected by recessions. So that's the key to riding out things like that. Join a company that has government contracts. Like my company does now.
Yeah. Or just in general, get a job where it's a necessity. Like,
yeah, exactly.
The world always needs electricians.
Sketchbook didn't know the dot-com bubble busted. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm telling you too. Like I said, when I moved to Austin, it was funny because when I moved to Austin, Texas in 2000, there were all these not new buildings going on. I'm sure there was, but like these buildings would get these new signs at the top. drcoop.com was a big one. And, you know, all these techie looking signs everywhere. And it was almost like Tokyo with the glitz and glamour everywhere in Austin. By the time I moved out of there in 2000, a year later, signs were coming down. All these buildings were abandoned. You know, unemployment was through the roof. It was really sad and pathetic. It was like, oh my God, this town has been obliterated. So, but they came back. It was just a temporary slaughter. But yeah. Oh, fancy Sketchbook was trying not to get shot. Ooh. But yes, that was my first real job out of college. Microsoft is still a thing in the market in the city.
I don't know what that means.
So anyway, that's what's going on with the Kickstarter. Stay tuned, because maybe we'll once they release the API, we'll see if it's reasonable to create our own crowdfunding site. That might be cool. We shall see.
Blackjack and hookers.
With blackjack and hookers. I even have already talked to Pixel Trader about it. He's excited too. So
nice.
Yeah. But we'll see. No promises.
Good, because I may or may not be working on at least the aesthetic and plot parts of designing a traditional RPG. So I'll let you know when I'm far enough along that coding might actually be a feasible thing.
Oh, an actual like CRPG
game. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant like a dice, like a tabletop game.
No, I mean, I was working on that, but I'm like, like the way I'm making these mechanics, they'd work very good for a video game. And honestly, I kind of want to make something that does all the things that I liked from the old Final Fantasy games, but I know, kind of like the Stardew Valley equivalent of something like that.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm working on some ideas. I got some things in the works.
Neat. What is it that the guy that did Stardew Valley? What did he build that in? Was that in Xamarin?
I thought he did that with XML.
XML, right? Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Or XNA. XNA?
Maybe
Framework.
It might be XNA.
That is
It
cool.
might be Framework XNA.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think it might. Yeah.
There's so many game engines.
I remember we looked it up.
So,
I always forget, but
yeah, I feel like it was the XNA framework.
it probably is.
I think that rings a bell.
A trailer park Pokemon game? No, I think I'll pass on that. Sounds like it'd be a good weekend, though.
Rick is here. He wants to make a cross comics crowdfunding site.
Okay, how many books are you gonna crowdfund? Like, I don't know. Now, if you want to just embed your crowdfunding into your site, that was something we talked about earlier. That's a possibility.
Yeah, it would be cool if we could white label it. Basically, allow people to brand their own site.
Yeah.
Or like you said, embed it in their own existing site and have it branded and all that stuff. That would be cool. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, one of the best selling points of this whole idea is that if people are worried about Kickstarter or maybe even Indiegogo gatekeeping and saying, no, you said wrong things on Twitter, so you can't crowdfund here. Well, that leaves open a niche for a site that won't do things like that.
Yeah. So like, we had different opinions on this when we were talking about it backstage last time. You thought there was a way to like prevent the gatekeeping, which I think in some way it is, but I think more so it's a way that they can afford to gatekeep even more on the main site, because now people can't just go off and do it anywhere else.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could be, but then people don't have to care about that because there'd just be more alternatives.
It's the what's it called? It's a feudal structure now, right? It's like no. You want to come into our city state, you have to obey by our rules. But if you want to go somewhere else, just go there. Yeah. Start your own city in the middle of the woods.
I have seen people complain about a lack of control in terms of like allowing people to do projects when they are behind on other projects or haven't delivered at all on other projects. And so it could be a way to allow someone else to crack down more on that or differently. Yeah. Because I mean, I'm not entirely sure I understand the rules. I think it's almost like a case by case basis, because at least like Indiegogo allows some people to do multiple projects at once, but it seems like maybe only people who've proven themselves and delivered on past projects. But I'm not entirely sure how those rules work.
Well, what you could do is you could just create a trusted user system, which would be good in general if you were making your own site. Is after somebody's fulfilled one or two projects, you could actually list on their profile that they're a trusted creator or fulfiller or whatever you want to put on there, which would help them fulfill more. Mm-hmm. But they could also lose it too if they end up behind on too many projects or whatever. And then you could revoke their access to having like multiple things going off at once.
Yeah. Someone said I needed the scan lines. I don't have the TV frame that you have. That would be easy to add, but
yeah, I
can do the little TV tube look. Sketchbook was asking about that.
Yeah, that's the setup.
But anyway,
yeah, that's what you need. We'll get you a one of those CRT old fat box computer monitor borders. There we go. Maybe we'll fill it in. We'll put actual like computer on the side or something like that. We'll see like a little desktop sitting there next to the monitor.
Or like one of those old Yeah, I don't know if they were radio. I guess they were like little TVs. I don't know what I'm thinking of. I have an idea of what I'm thinking of in my head, but I don't know how to articulate it. But an old timey TV. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to have one of those like portable TVs. That you hold in the hand. It's like the size of a hand radio, very small, maybe like slightly bigger than a Game Boy screen. Has like antenna on it. You have to like fiddle with it so you're out camping watching something.
Yeah, I used to have one of those too. Yeah, I think it was black and white. I don't really remember.
We used to have it specifically for when we would go and watch NASCAR races, because we were poor and not everybody could go in and watch the races at the same time. So sometimes people were like watching it for a bit, moving out, swapping tickets with somebody so they could go back in and see it. And we would just, the whole base, me and like my cousins and all that, would just be sitting there, and every so often people would be checking in on the race while we're just like at the campers and shit.
Mm. Well, do you want to hear the bad news?
Oh, there's bad news? Yes, I love bad news.
It's not particularly bad, but it's unfortunate, I suppose. Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster has been pushed back to February.
Oh, yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
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 They had said it was coming out in 2021, but they lied. Or they just needed to work on it a little longer, I guess.
No, that's not what NASCAR stands for, GMT.
Not a single clue about rules.
No.
It does stand for something, and it's not. Like, the car in NASCAR doesn't mean car. It's actually an acronym.
Yeah. Though one of the letters in there does mean car, because the SC is stock car.
Yes. Yeah.
So funny enough, car is still in there.
Yeah. National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing.
Yes.
That's it.
Wait, you like Yeah, I play racing games from time to time. I play all kinds of games. I'm actually really interested in the new Forza Horizons. I'm just not getting into it yet because it costs a bit, and two, it's one of those games that takes so many hours invested into it to actually get out of it that I just don't want to like. I'm spending too much time in Final Fantasy 14. I can only do one game that takes my life while also working on shit. Speaking of Final Fantasy 14, since you brought up 6, more bad news. Final Fantasy is suffering from success right now. 14, yeah. I guess that's the best you could call it. It's suffering from success. The queues have gotten so bad from Endwalker. I mean, like, I can only get in after maybe 2 o'clock.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah. Maybe like from 2 to about 10 is when congestion starts back up. So like 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. is like the only time I can play. Luckily, I'm up anyway. But I actually have the money set aside. It was going to be like an early Christmas gift or whatever. I was going to get Final Fantasy 14, the complete edition. It only cost $60. And boom, guess what? So bad, they're not letting new people register for the game. So if you don't already have an account right now, you can't join. And they're not selling anything but Endwalker for people who have everything up to Endwalker. I actually had to get on a waiting list to buy the game.
It's crazy.
Yeah. No, I don't know how long that's going to last. They keep giving people free game time, too. They're like, sorry, people who paid for the game, here's 14 extra days or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody expected WoW to shit the bed this bad, apparently. I mean, I did expect Blizzard to shit the bed, but it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And I didn't know when that was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I remember Ultima Online having problems like this at the beginning, and I think they ended up getting like a class action lawsuit. I don't know how that went, but because the servers were so awful at the beginning, and they had to constantly come down for maintenance and all this stuff. And of course, back then people didn't understand the concept of you may not be able to play the game for periods of time because we've shut down all the servers for maintenance. That wasn't a thing until then.
Yeah.
So that's why they ended up getting sued. But I don't remember them ever like saying, okay, we got to stop selling the game for a while. Of course, back then it was, selling the game there was physical copies.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could download Ultima Online back then, but
probably not.
Yeah,
most games weren't available for download even off of people's site because the games were too big, and like a site wouldn't be able to hold that much at the time because even like something as small as 50 megabytes would have been too much to download off of a website at that time.
Yeah. So I don't think stopping sales was an option. So this is an interesting,
they actually delisted
precedent.
It. Like if you go to like Steam right now, if you were to go to Steam, you can go to the page. There won't be a sale option. You literally cannot buy the game right now. The only way you can buy it is older versions of the complete edition, which only have up to Shadowbringer, if it's physically in a store. So they're only selling what like stores already have in stock, and everywhere else it's just delisted. You're on a waiting list.
I heard they're bringing up a whole new set of realms, shards, or whatever they call them.
Yeah, they're adding more worlds. They may even add another data center. The problem is it's mostly North America, more than anything else.
I bet.
Because there's only like 2 data centers and a total of 12 worlds across them, like 6 each in Europe. They've got 3 data centers in Japan, but I think each one of those only have 6. Our data centers, we have like 8 worlds on all 3 of them. We have the most worlds just because of how many people in North America play the game. And they're always cramped. Half the time, they're so packed you can't even make a new character.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, good job, Activision Blizzard.
I mean, Final Fantasy deserves it. It's just they got way more traffic too fast compared to what they were expecting. It's just, oof.
Do you think they got a whole bunch more traffic after the Game Awards? After they won?
No, I don't think that was significant because we were already having this problem before the Game Awards.
Oh, okay.
I think it's because Endwalker is coming out, Blizzard shitting the bed. Right. It's a perfect storm.
Yeah, and I forgot Endwalker came out recently, didn't it?
Yeah. Probably we were having this problem a week before Endwalker came out because people were able to get it early access. So they were just sitting there playing the game, stopping people who didn't even have access to it from just doing the normal stuff they wanted to do. Meanwhile, I'm just taking my tiny little Lalafell and hiding inside snowmen because they're not physical objects. They're just kind of like, I guess they were like textures put in the world, right? Like you just add them there for the event. So I could just clip inside of it, and I'm sitting there, and as people run by for 20 minutes, we're just throwing snowballs at random people, and they just look around and they see my name hovering over a snowman.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's fun.
Well, apparently the first post-expansion patch came out yesterday.
Yes. Which added content and stuff and a lot of crafting stuff.
Yeah, but are you aware of the most important thing that they did in the patch?
Maybe. I don't know. Depends what's the most important thing.
They fixed the goddamn grapes. Metal.
They fixed the grapes.
They fixed the low poly grapes. Apparently there were low poly grapes found in Labyrinthos, one of the new expansion zones.
Oh, such a good deal.
They have fixed the graphics on specifically the grapes. Although, apparently, according to this article, some people are very upset by this. Some people really liked the low poly grapes. So it's really divided the community. I can't believe you haven't picked a side already.
No, I don't have access to Endwalker content, so I was not even aware of the low poly grapes. So
that'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't gone to the moon yet.
You don't even know. Do you even game, bro?
Yeah.
Do you even Final Fantasy, bro, if you don't know about the low poly grapes?
Well, sadly, apparently, I Final Fantasy more than most of the people who play this game. A lot of casual people, like, this is the first encounter they've ever had with Final Fantasy. Lately, I've been playing Final Fantasy 11 again on a private server. You want to talk about hardcore? That game is hard. It's about as hard as I remembered it being. But, like, I was on Twitter, big mistake already. Only spent like 5 minutes at a time on there. And I saw a thread about Final Fantasy. I think freaking Grums was the one that started the thread. And somebody replied and they said, bar none, Final Fantasy 14 is the best Final Fantasy in the series. Where it has the best story in the series and is the like epitomal Final Fantasy experience. And I'm just like, hold up. I've been playing this game, and I have to say, you're fucking crazy if you think it's the best story in the series. It's fun, but outside of the base game A Realm Reborn, most of the story is all referential. That'd be like saying Final Fantasy IX is the best one of the series, when half of everything you do in it is a reference to the older Final Fantasies. Great game, but it holds nothing to like 4 or 6 or anything like that. Even 7 has a better story than most of the games that came later that are just referential to earlier stuff. Because most of 7, while being references to Norse mythology, was an original story.
Was Grum serious about that, or was he just
he wasn't
trolling?
the one that said that. It was in a thread he started. Somebody else said it. No.
Oh.
He wasn't. He was digging the story. He never makes a statement so adamant or controversial like that himself.
I think he's stated he's never played a Final Fantasy before 14.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, it was just some rando that was like the biggest thread attached to it. It's like the biggest reply thread. And I'm just like, hold up. And then there was a bunch of people agreeing with him. It's like, have you guys even played the series? What the hell are you talking about? You're blowing up, man.
Seriously, what the hell's happening here? Okay, well, turn that off and put it on the floor. It's like, Jesus Christ, what the hell?
Somebody's popular.
Yeah, somebody just liked 50 of my tweets or something.
That's crazy.
I don't know what's happening.
You got a stalker.
Yeah, apparently.
It's probably GMT.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I agree. GMT said, Marsupial in my day, we had to enter the games on punch cards that we smuggled over in a Jacquard loom talk again. Now get off his lawn. That's right. The days of Ultima Online. We didn't have no fancy interwebs where you downloaded games and you could shut them off and blah, blah, blah. In my day, we bought them in a great big box, and when they didn't work, we sued Origin.
Man, dude, I remember I was confused the first time that I bought a game on a CD. Like, I went to the store and bought a PC game, put it in my computer, and all it did was like trying to recognize whether you had Steam already downloaded on your computer, and if not, it downloaded Steam for you and then started installing. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Mm-hmm.
CDs are obsolete now. Like, who needs them for games? It's I miss it. Everything was physical. It was better.
Yeah. I don't have a CD. I do not own anything that would play CDs. So I'm like looking around, like I don't even know how I would play a CD.
I know. I don't.
But,
I think I have a radio in the other room somewhere far away so that I can listen to a CD, but I couldn't play like a game that was on a CD or something.
Mm-hmm. By the way, it was Sierra Whiskey, apparently liking 13 of my tweets in a row.
That adds up.
See, back in my day, This is how we played our video games back in my day with the floppy disks. There we go. Put this. Where does this go? It doesn't go anywhere.
It says back in his day, but that's a game that was made within the last couple of years or so.
Well, yeah. This game was made like a year ago. But if I had an Apple IIc or an Apple II of any kind, I could play it.
Yeah.
Back in my day.
Yo, Spore. Spore is like one of the best worst games because only like a couple parts of Spore is even good. But man, are the good parts really good. The rest of the game's kind of shit. But I played way too much Spore. It was like, you thought this game was about the evolutionary line of a creature, and in some case, it kind of is. But like, maybe a third of the game is you evolving from a cell all the way up to a civilization. So it's actually several different games in one, right? At first, it's like a survival game. Then it's like an action game where you're running around killing things to level up like an RPG. But then all of a sudden, it basically becomes Civilization or Age of Empires. And then the bulk of the game, after you think like, okay, where do you go after this? The other 2/3 of the game is just taking this little thing you built up into an empire across the galaxy and taking over different planets and stuff. And you don't even think that that's going to be the bulk of the game when you load it up the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a weird game. I love it, but it's weird.
It reminds me of Sim Earth, where you start with these like single cell organisms. I could never figure out how to get from the single cell organisms to like whatever the next stage was. I guess multicellular.
Yeah.
Except there's a way to cheat. You just use one of the little 2001 obelisks, and you could basically cheat and force them to evolve. But I can never figure out how to get them to evolve naturally. So.
Yeah, Spore is easier. All you do is eat stuff. And after consuming so much, you get like evolution points, and you just like put more things on your cell, and eventually it turns into like an actual organism with like a brain and stuff.
Yeah, Sim Earth wasn't a very good game.
I think Spore was taking the ideas of Sim Earth, but making it like accessible to a kid.
Mm-hmm. Rick says these 5 1/4-inch discs are older than me, but they're actually not.
No, they're actually really, really young.
That's right. Actually, very new.
The Oregon Trail. Yeah, let's just go back to like MUDs. Let's reject modernity, embrace the MUDs.
That's great. We need to go back to the age of BBS's bulletin board systems.
Hey, you know what? Newgrounds Forum is still a BBS. They exist.
Oh yeah? Can you dial into it with a dial-in modem?
No, I wish you could. I think the number's still there, but it doesn't connect.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's also because freaking dial modems don't connect anymore.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Theoretically, though, if you have the equipment, we could set up a server that you have to dial into. It's possible.
Could dial in just like what was the company that he thinks that he's dialing into in war games, where he gets to play global thermonuclear war, and it's actually it's actually a Pentagon computer.
I was going to use the Matrix as our example, since we were talking about it earlier, because they have to use phones to exit the Matrix.
Yeah.
Which made sense from that perspective, because back then you were still dialing in to get to the internet. So.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that they figured out a different way to get in and out of the Matrix in this new one. They don't have to find a fucking payphone anymore. Since they don't exist
Good luck finding
anymore.
a payphone. Yeah, it's like...
Exactly.
So much time has passed, they're like, we know how to stop them. We're just going to remove landlines from the entire system.
Yeah. Although they don't really... They don't really explain it very well or at all.
Of course.
But
not.
yes, apparently they found another new way in and out of the Matrix, but it's
not explaining
with
things.
Everything.
Just sounds like par for the course at this point.
Yeah. They're just like, yeah, this is the thing now. Because why not? Because we need the movie to happen. Yes, War Games with Matthew Broderick. That's correct. No spoilers. I'll give you all the spoilers. Go look at my Twitter feed. You'll see all the spoilers.
Is that what
I try not to be...
Sierra Whiskey was liking, all of your spoilers?
Yeah, I tried not to spoil anything, but I mean, I took screenshots, made funny quips about them. I tried not to be too spoilery, but yeah.
When Discord first added the spoiler feature, I was just uploading pictures of like wingtip spoilers on cars and just marking them spoiler, and if somebody clicked on it, it would be an actual spoiler sitting there.
Oh yeah. Brilliant.
The Matrix would have been a much better movie with Matthew Broderick as Neo. It would have been a much different movie. I know, I like Keanu Reeves. I think he's a good actor.
Yeah.
It would have been a much different movie. Instead, he was Inspector Gadget. That was the role for him.
Mm-hmm. I like the. Do you remember? Was it the MTV Movie Awards where they had Will Ferrell playing the architect?
Yes.
In the Matrix. Did you ever see that?
I think that was MTV. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
That was a funny one.
Yeah.
They always have a bit like that at the beginning of the MTV Movie Awards, which I don't know if they've done that in a long time. I think that's a dead thing. One of my favorite ones was after Revenge of the Sith came out, and Jimmy Fallon was playing Anakin on the lava planet. It's one of the few times I ever laughed at something that Jimmy Fallon did. Oh, like Jimmy Fallon,
he was what, an alien?
Everything that he played Anakin.
Oh, he played Anakin
on the lava planet. Yeah. Say, unlike Jimmy Fallon, who laughs at everything that Jimmy Fallon does while he's doing it.
Neo's day off. Yeah. That could have been the subtitle for this movie.
It needs to be a two name thing for Ferris Bueller, so it has to be Thomas Anderson's Day Off.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Inspector Gadget shouldn't have went to a comedian. Inspector Gadget should have been played by Bruce Campbell, and anybody who tells me otherwise is wrong. He could totally do the mannerisms. His voice is not too far, so all he has to do is like perch his lip and neck back a little bit, and he could easily have done the go Gadget. Like, dude, Bruce Campbell should have been Inspector Gadget. I've been on this bus for years. It's the missed.
I don't think I've ever heard this.
This is the missed role. It would have been the perfect movie.
He's already played a guy with a chainsaw for a hand, so could fit right in.
Just imagine, especially if it was done more like the cartoon, like the plot actually matched what Inspector Gadget should have been. Just imagine Bruce Campbell at that age wearing the Inspector Gadget outfit with like maybe even a wig, like crazy air coming from the back of the hat. Would have been perfect. Get Smart, yeah. Well, I mean, Get Smart was before Inspector Gadget, so one thing clearly influenced the other. He was also obviously like Bionic Man and stuff like that influenced Inspector Gadget.
Mm-hmm. But what do you mean? We got an Inspector Gadget live action movie and a Get Smart live action.
God!
Movie.
Oh, I hated the Get Smart live action movie.
With what's his name?
Carell.
Michael Scott, Steve Carell. Yeah.
I don't think I really like Steve Carell. I have nothing against him. It's just I don't enjoy most of the things he's been in. and I don't know if it's him or just like the directors and writers he tends to work with. I'm not sure. The only thing I really enjoyed with him was Evan Almighty, but it was like the same writers and directors as Bruce Almighty, so that's probably to do with it. I think it's more the creative team than anything. Because for the most, he's an actor, so it's the people behind production that matter most on whether something's going to be good or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that movie too. Kappa doesn't work on YouTube. That's correct.
Yeah.
But it works here.
Oh, see, the Sketchbook was even saying that the boss from The Office would have been better later on. It was Steve Carell. It's like, yeah, well, like, he did Get Smart, so.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for the show.
It is.
Hour and a half mark, yeah. So thanks for watching, everyone. And to reiterate from earlier, special thanks to Gamotron for donating the last $10 we needed to reach our goal. But that doesn't mean you have to stop here. Anybody else? If you enjoy the show, please share it with somebody else who might enjoy it. But if you really, really enjoy it, consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. You can consider it a Christmas gift to the show if you want. Whatever makes you donate. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for coming around.
Bye, Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We won't have an episode on Saturday because it's Christmas. But we'll be here next Wednesday. We'll see you then.
See ya.